Terry Bussey is now a full-time wide receiver. What does that mean for the rest of this Texas A&M wide receiver room?
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Stay with us for the Armada Team of the Week later in the episode. So on the show today, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about two things. I want to talk a little bit about what Texas A&M basketball needs to do in the transfer portal. We'll do that toward the tail end of the show. But we're going to start things off talking about this wide receiver room. Talked about the hair yesterday because of, the news of Micah Hudson and him being officially gone that came out a few days ago. And the other news that we got kind of amidst the NCAA tournament madness was that Terry Bussey is now a full-time wide receiver. So I'm going to talk about this today because I think that it is a really good thing. 2-3 weeks ago, I was kind of discussing hey, is Bussey going to move back and be a player that gets back in the secondary? Those of you that don't remember, Terry Bussey was recruited. Jimbo Fisher's staff saw him as a corner. But obviously, I think that staff knew very well that he was a guy that could do pretty much anything on the football field. Now, Elko's staff, I think, kind of wanted their staff was like, well, what he is an absolute star, and we need to see what he can do once he gets on campus. And, of course, he got on campus and played a lot of wide receiver last season. So now I'm kind of sitting here looking at this Texas A&M wide receiver room, knowing who Terry Bussey is as a player, and I'm sitting and I'm saying to myself, I think that Terry Bussey is going to have a really good season for the Aggies. We talked about this a bit yesterday, and what I said was it would be bold, but I think there is a chance. I think crazier things that happen. And we're going to talk about, what does that mean for this room? So I'm going to talk about, I've got 6 names that I think are going to play legit snaps, a couple names that could for this receiver room. I think a bold take you could make about this Texas A&M wide receiver room, and once again, it's bold, but it would be, I think there's a world where perhaps Terry Bussey takes over kind of as the guy instead of Casey Concepcion, who many anticipate being the dude in this receiver room. Now, I'm going to tell you why I think if that were to happen, it wouldn't be a bad thing. It would be this is exciting. This is a good thing. And the reason I think that is we know how good Casey Concepcion is. Casey Concepcion has proved time and time again during his few-year now college football career that he can be a star player. At NC State, he was dominant. Once again, he did it at a high level. We talked about last year the wide receivers that came in, a Jabri Barber, a Cyrus Allen. Those guys really didn't. I don't think they fully panned out like we would have hoped they did. And knowing that, I was kind of happy that we went and got a guy in Casey Concepcion who's proven it at NC State, in the ACC. So we've seen it at this level, not quite the SEC level, but yeah, I believe he's going to be fine against SEC competition. So if Terry Bussey is somehow able to outperform him, if Terry Bussey can outperform a player in Casey Concepcion who has gone for, we'll pull up the full stats on him, but really close to 1,000 yards 2 years ago. And then last year, more of his issue was, of course, quarterback play than anything. But, I mean, he still goes for 460 receiving yards last year, 6 touchdowns, also has 36 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. The year before, he had 839 receiving yards and 320 rushing yards. Casey Concepcion's a star player. So what I'm saying is, If some way in the world, Terry Bussey can outplay him, it would be huge for this Texas A&M receiver room, because once again, we know how good Concepcion is. That doesn't mean Bussey outplaying Concepcion doesn't mean Concepcion's not good. It means Bussey's better than a player we already know is really good in college football. So that's one thing I'm hoping to see. I mean, it's just, I bought my stock in Terry Bussey. I think he's going to be a star player. I think that he's going to be incredible in the NFL someday down the road. I think he's going to be a first-round pick type of guy. I am all in on Terry Bussey. So, yeah, I think that he's going to have this really incredible type of jumps. And, we discussed the jump from year 1 and year 2 and 5 stars is always kind of a significant jump. And there's some positions where 5 stars play more than others as true freshmen. And of course, wide receivers are a position where, you're going to see a lot of 5 stars play early on. And we'll talk about a 5-star that I think is going to play as a freshman this year for the Aggies. So, when you kind of take a look at a player like Terry Bussey, he got some of those valuable snaps last year. He got some of those valuable snaps as a true freshman, and I think that's going to pay dividends. I think that he's going to have a spectacular jump this year. The shiftiness, the talent, everything that you need for a wide receiver to be really good, Terry Bussey has. So I expect him to be good. And yes, right now, if there were betting odds on, I'll do this. There were betting odds on Concepcion to lead Texas A&M in, we'll just say yards, in receiving yards. I would probably put it at like minus 400. I would put Bussey at probably like plus 400, 450, maybe 500. Put Mario Craver probably at like plus 600. Maybe that's a hot topic. Maybe some might think that Craver should be higher in a list like that than Bussey. But point is, that's a bold take. It would take a lot for Bussey to overtake Concepcion, but I think it's possible. And I think it would be a good thing for Texas A&M, because I think it would mean you have 2 elite receivers, because we know how good Concepcion is, how good he's going to be. He's already looked good at spring practice. He just looks shifty and dominant. He's going to be a special player. But if he's going to be able to do that and take his game to the next level and be better than a guy, or as good, or just right around there as a guy like KC Concepcion, it just means that I think Texas A&M has 2 all SEC type of receivers. That's how good they're going to be, because that's how good I think Concepcion's going to be. So if Bussey can get on that level, it's just going to be good for this room, and it's going to make Marcel Reed's life a lot easier. And that needs to be the goal this year, is to make Marcel Reed's, as he continues to develop as a passer, make his life as easy as possible. That's got to be the goal of this coaching staff. And I think having a receiver like we know Concepcion is, and hopefully Bussey can develop into, will be huge for this football program and for this team next season. We're going to continue on with this conversation on the wide receiver room. I want to discuss a little bit about some of the other names that I anticipate getting a lot of snaps, getting a lot of reps, and getting a lot of receptions this year for the Aggies. Obviously Bussey and Concepcion, but then I've got 1, 2, 3 other names that I'm paying a lot of attention to, and then 2 names that I'm paying a little bit of attention to when it comes to wide receivers who are going to get some reps this season. And we will continue the conversation on this wide receiver room coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to tell you about our wonderful friends over at Nissan. The Armada Team of the Week is brought to you by our friends at Nissan and the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Each week, Locked On College Basketball experts are picking one team that stands apart from top-seeded stars to unexpected upsets. These guys showcase the strength and sheer power needed to push their team forward. This week's Armada and clear-cut team of the week is the Arkansas Razorbacks. Despite losing their first 5 SEC games, Coach Cal's Hogs found their way through the most rugged conference in college basketball to not only make the NCAA tournament, but knock off back-to-back national champion and Hall of Fame coaches en route to the Sweet 16. They accomplished all of this without their second leading scorer, Boogie Fland, for most of SEC play, and without score and rebounder Due Fierro so far in the NCAA tournament. When it comes to the Nissan Armada, they say go forth and conquer, and that's exactly what the Arkansas Razorbacks have done here. It is clear that our team of the week is out here ready to conquer the road ahead with confidence, just like you can in an all-new Nissan Armada or any of Nissan's outstanding vehicles. Take the Nissan Armada, Rogue, or Pathfinder and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com to go get the Armada and, of course, the wonderful lineup over at Nissan. So the other receivers that we talked about Craver a hair, but the names I'm paying attention to, there are more receivers on this roster than these names. We'll talk about some of those other guys as we get deeper into the offseason, but the players that I am dialed in on right now are Craver, Jonah Wilson, Isaiah Williams, Ashton Bethel-Roman, ABR, and then, of course, Jerome Miles, not here yet, but will be here and will be really, really, really good. So, when it comes to the role those guys play, I think one of the most underrated guys on this list, well, when you go to full-on underrated, it's Williams and Bethel-Roman. They're both players coming in year 2 that I think are going to be really good. If I had to pick one to be the most in on right now, I'd probably go Bethel-Roman. And, I mean, we see this all the time. Like, if you told me, because I'd say right now that Craver, Concepcion, and Bussey are probably the top 3 guys in this room. If you told me that Williams or Bethel-Roman, took down Craver and took a spot for more reps, I wouldn't be shocked by it. Jonah Wilson's an incredibly underrated name. I think the Houston transfer is a guy that is going to have a really – I think that he's got a lot left. I think he's a player that has yet to kind of show who he is. And I think that once he does that, it could be pretty special. I just think that he is a player that there's a lot of upside left in him. He really didn't do a ton during his time at Houston. I mean, in 2 years, he had about a little over 100 yards and 1 touchdown. So, yeah, I mean, he hasn't proven a lot, but I think that he's a player that will be pretty good. I mean, the 6'2", 200-pound receiver, he's got the frame to be special. I think that he's going to be pretty darn good. So that is a player I'm paying attention to. But Jerome Miles is the number 1 name. I mean, he's another NFL player. Jerome Miles is a guy that we were worried about the injury. He got hurt, and was that going to affect him? Was he going to miss time? He's not going to miss any time. He's, of course, not on campus now, but, I mean, he was a top 20 player in the class, the 6'3", 215-pound wide receiver from Utah. I just think Jerome Miles, I mean, the scouting report on him, it's excellent athleticism, positioned at an X, explosive athlete, verified speedster with numerous strong sprint times. He's a guy that, he's 6'3", but he's also strong, but he's also really fast, but he's also a great route runner, but he's also a great catcher of the football. He's also great at high pointing. He's great when it comes to winning 50-50 battles. Every aspect, a lot of times receivers are good at this and this, or they're really good at this. He's not really good at anything. He's excellent at everything. And I think that he's a guy that's going to play some snaps this year. The only concern is, I mean, he is a freshman. And we always discuss this, what's going to happen. We talk about with freshmen and how often do they pan out in year 1. I mean, is he going to have kind of a Bussey from last year role. Bussey had played a lot of games, played a lot of snaps, made a lot happen. But like, how significant of a role will it be? I think it's still to be seen. But I mean, if you ask me right now, I would say that there is a legit chance that he goes for 300, 400 yards this year. I think it's possible. I also think Texas A&M's passing offense as a whole is going to take a step in the right direction. I mean, we've discussed it. The passing offense has not been incredible of late, and there's obviously multiple different reasons why and all that. But I think that the passing offense is going to be much better this season because, as I've talked about time and time again, I think that you're going to see a player in Marcel Reed take that step to the next level. So I'm kind of anxious to see what happens there. But yeah, I like Bussey moving full-time to wide receiver. I think that's exciting. I think that's good for this program. I think that's good for this team. Wanted to say, so yeah, if there's any receivers that I didn't mention, there's more on the roster, obviously. But those are the guys I'm focused on. If there's somebody that y'all like that I didn't bring up that could play some snaps, let me know. There's obviously more freshmen, more sophomores. There's a lot more receivers on this roster, but those are the guys I'm hyper-focused on for this year. But we're going to transition talking a little bit of basketball. This will probably be our last basketball conversation until we start seeing transfer portal players commit and stuff like that. But, I mean, the only players that we even know their names that are going to be back next season are Pharrell Payne, who had an incredible season this year, and, of course, Solomon Washington. And, these two guys, I mean, that's a combined 15 points per game right there. That's 15 points per game there. And of your 74 game, I mean, you're losing it. And it's like, you can't really just say, well, you're losing your two leading scorers. Well, you're losing everybody. So I think that Pharrell Payne is a player who I really like the idea of building a roster around him. I'll tell you this. I have this weird feeling that maybe the best option for Texas A&M is to build an offense around a big man. Just based on the way they play and the gritty, banging basketball that Texas A&M plays, I think that perhaps the best way to attack is from inside to out. And Pharrell Payne's a guy, I mean, I think that if he played more, I think he would have averaged a lot more than 10 points a game. I mean, he only was playing 20 minutes a game. So, of course, the transfer from Minnesota, I think that Pharrell Payne has a lot of great basketball left in him. And yeah, I think he's a guy that you might be able to kind of build a team around. So we're going to talk more about Texas A&M and the transfer portal for basketball. What do we need? What are we going after? We'll talk about it coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to talk about our friends over at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House, whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That is supplyhouse.com. Also want to show y'all our promo for the bracket breakdown. This show's been really cool. They're just Gordon Hayward, former NBA guy, is on this. It's a really cool all-around thing between Locked On and Amazon. It's teamed up to deliver the best coverage of the NCAA tournament. Here is the promo for the bracket breakdown.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
So staying on this topic of the basketball team, like I said, you lose your guy in Wade Taylor, who's moving on. I mean, just an incredible career as a Texas A&M basketball player. But, I mean, you're left with two forwards, Solomon Washington and, of course, Pharrell Payne. And, I mean, I think that this basketball team really needs some guards who are capable of y'all know my complaint on Texas A&M basketball. I don't like the offense. Everything about Texas A&M basketball is really great, except for I think the way this offense runs. It's great to see elite defense, rebounding, all of that, physicality. That's what this team is. But I want to see better offense. And I think that Boots Radford was a great, offensive player, Tyrese Boots Radford, and I miss him a lot. I think that he made Wade Taylor better. And I think that you need a guard like that who's capable of scoring 25, but also is more of a facilitator. And then a 2 who can be a guy like Wade Taylor who can score the basketball at a high clip. So, I mean, I'm looking for guards who can shoot the ball. I'm looking for a couple 2s and a couple 3s that are 3-and-D guys. And then I want a 1 who is capable of driving, facilitating, but can also shoot. A guy that shoots 37%, but he's known more as a passer and a facilitator before he is a shooter. And I think, I don't know if I would base Texas A&M's entire next year's season on Pharrell Payne, but I do think he's a player that, you could for sure kind of build some things around him. I think that he's a great player, and I think that he showed a lot. And in all honesty, and I've talked about this, I think that he, I wish he'd have played some more minutes this year, to be brutally honest with you. So, I am curious to see how Buzz builds this team, because I think there are a lot of different routes he could go to make it happen. I think that there are a lot of different ways that he could do this. And so, I kind of think that the one that he's going to go with would likely be, I think that he's going to go with getting some guards to kind of facilitate it through. But I think Pharrell Payne's going to be a big part of the plan next year. So as we get more portal news and we've reached out to a couple guys, we'll talk when we start getting commits and serious interest and, final 3s and all that. We'll talk a little bit more about the basketball team and talk about the setup for next year. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you all so much for being here every single day. I really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and we'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Aggies.